Bribery is one of the most dangerous threats to justice and truth, which is probably why we see throughout the Bible that God hates bribery. We have already covered that Noahide judges must not pervert justice, and bribery is one of the ways of perverting justice. In this video, we'll explain what bribery is, why the Torah treats it so seriously, and what the consequences of bribery are. One of the Noahide laws is to establish courts of justice, to uphold justice. In the Torah, we see that God wants righteous justice, and He outlines how righteous justice is to be performed. And so many of the individual laws that apply to the Jews regarding justice also apply to non-Jews under our Noahide obligation to establish courts of justice. And we find many times that God does not want bribery. Exodus 23 verse 8, "You shall not accept a bribe, for a bribe will blind the clear-sighted and corrupt words that are right." Deuteronomy 16:19, "You shall not pervert justice, you shall not show favoritism, and you shall not take a bribe. For bribery blinds the eyes of the wise and perverts just words." Okay, so God hates bribery, but what even is a bribe? A bribe is any benefit given to a judge by a litigant or on behalf of a litigant that's in connection with a case, which then creates a personal attachment or bias to that side. It can be money, a gift, a service, preferential treatment, or any other benefit, whether given directly or indirectly. A lot of times a bribe is in the form of money, but it could also be any other gift or any other favor, any other benefit to the judge. Why is bribery so bad? If you haven't watched this video, I strongly encourage you to watch it. But essentially, the Torah teaches that bribery blinds judgment. It creates a subconscious bond between the judge and the giver of the bribe, so that even a wise judge may no longer see the case clearly. In essence, a bribe distorts truth. And a bribe is so powerful that even if a judge intends to give a correct ruling, a just, fair ruling, he still can't accept the bribe. Why? Again, because the Torah says that the bribery blinds the eyes of the wise. And this is why even something so tiny, a small personal favor, can be enough to make the judge disqualify himself from judging the case. Our sages tell of a judge who was sitting, and a feather came and fell on his head, and then a certain man comes walking by and removes it for him. The judge turns to look at the man and says, "I am now disqualified from judging your case." In another instance, somebody spat in front of the judge. Another person walks by and cleans up the spit. The judge then said, "I'm disqualified from judging your case." So we can see even the smallest favor disqualifies a judge. A judge must be extremely careful to remain unbiased. And so from what we've said, you can probably predict the answers to the following cases. Take a case where the litigants don't offer the judge a bribe, but the judge remembers a favor that was done to him by the litigant from a long, long time ago. And he notices that his opinion leans in the person's favor. Technically, that favor was given long ago, and it wasn't given as a bribe. It wasn't even connected to the case. Nevertheless, if the judge realizes that the old favor is affecting his judgment, he must disqualify himself from judging the case. Because as we've covered, any bribe can distort the will and distort truth. But now take an opposite case where the gift was given after the ruling was already delivered. So no favors were given before the ruling, no bribes were given before the ruling. The judge has already delivered the correct legal ruling. So now, what if the litigant offers him a gift afterward? Is the judge allowed to accept it? The answer is no, the judge may not accept it. Even though the case is already over, accepting such a gift is too similar to bribery, and here's why. It can create a dangerous expectation for the future. In another case, that judge may subconsciously think, if I rule in this person's favor, maybe I'll receive a gift from him afterward. We can't have anything threatening the purity of justice and truth. But so now we know definitely that judges cannot accept a bribe. But can a person give a bribe, offer a bribe? No. Just as a judge is prohibited from taking a bribe, it is also prohibited to offer a bribe. Both taking a bribe and offering a bribe are perverting justice. But it's also forbidden because the giver of the bribe would be causing the judge to sin. And as we've covered, Noahides are forbidden from causing other people to sin. Why? Because we have a Noahide obligation to uphold justice. But now let's go over the consequences of transgressions of justice. Our Noahide obligation to establish courts of justice is an obligation to uphold justice and establish courts of justice. But this obligation also contains prohibitions against causing injustice or perverting justice. Transgressing these prohibitions can make one liable before a Noahide court. Perverting justice includes intentionally delivering a false ruling, or also intentionally corrupting the judicial process, like intentionally delaying a case, pushing aside a case that should be heard, prolonging proceedings without justification, or otherwise more generally preventing justice from being done. But there's an important distinction between perverting justice and failing to fulfill our positive obligation. According to Nachmanides and many other authorities, a Noahide is only liable for actively violating justice, like perverting justice. But a Noahide is not necessarily liable for his inaction, for his failure to judge. So if a crime occurs and the case never comes before a judge, the judge would not necessarily be liable to capital punishment because he didn't judge the case, because he didn't fulfill his Noahide obligation to uphold justice. He'd only be liable for active corruption. Bribery is active corruption. So bribery is also a perversion of justice, and bribery also can make one liable, the giver and the receiver of the bribe. Now, all bribes are forbidden, but the clearest case of capital liability is where the bribe is connected to a case and it's intended to corrupt, or actually does corrupt the administration of justice. And this is whether it sways the mind of the judge or causes favoritism, leading to an unjust ruling. To close, God hates bribery for good reason. Bribery is the very foundation of justice, and perverting justice distorts truth. Noahides are prohibited from giving bribes and accepting bribes, because bribery is an active perversion of justice. When a bribe is intentionally connected to a case and is meant to corrupt the case, it carries serious liability. On this channel, we go into the entire Noahide legal system, all of the Noahide laws, so I encourage you to subscribe to stay tuned. This is the legal system of the future. Thank you, as always, for watching.